How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Liberty Hour, streaming through Spreaker Studio and the 16 Jackson AJ1 Twitter account, along with what will be posted on my YouTube channel, A2Jack, as well. Make sure you check that out. We're back here to the Liberty Hour with my good friends Ricardo Navarrete and Michael Kekkonen, and we were just talking about, we got Michael's thoughts on how long he believes this virus is going to take. Ricky, I guess I'll go ahead and get you in on this. How long? I know you predicted 2 to 3 weeks in the beginning on my radio show at Sac State. How long now do you foresee this virus taking until we start getting on the positive realm to where we can reopen certain places?
Well, Aaron, I'm glad you asked me that question because, as anybody would know, I'm very ass when it comes to predicting things. So I think that by Cinco de Mayo, it'll still be around, and then it's going to get worse around then. And I was just thinking about it, dude. If it's still around during summer, I don't know what people are going to do for 4th of July because that's like America's big day. So I don't know if people are going to still be doing like gatherings and getting together and all that stuff.
Well, the point is that we're trying to slow the spread.
Well, yeah,
you know?
But if that, like, it's like you said, if we slow it and start reopening it, it'll like create a bubble. So if we're like still closed and reopen around the beginning of summer, like we start reopening stuff more then yeah, like we'll have slowed it down. But then during these big gatherings, like something's gonna happen. It's gonna skyrocket again.
Here's my thing though. We're closing down everything right now, and it sounds like they're gonna have me come back to work in a week from now. And I don't know how close the hospitals are to maximum capacity, but it makes sense to close things when it's closer to maximum capacity.
Yeah,
you're echoing, Doc.
Me?
Yeah, you.
I'm echoing?
Whenever you don't talk, I can hear myself like echoing a lot in the background, and Michael as well.
Am I better now or no?
Hey.
No, you're not echoing.
Hey.
We're the ones echoing because there's some feedback loop coming from
you. It's
you.
a little better. I can still hear myself though.
Okay, it must be. I don't know if it's from my headphones or if it's something internally in my laptop. But apologies if there's any audio issues in that realm. But you make an interesting point. You say, you think that it's still going to be around May 5th, and you said you think it'll get worse. Mm-hmm. Now, I guess my question for you to follow up on that is, this last day alone, we saw anywhere between 13 to 14,000 cases roughly in the last 24 hours in America to put us at first in the world in terms of countries for the number of cases for this virus, now surpassing China. I guess my question for you is, do you expect that there's still going to be that many cases a day come May 5th, or do you think that it's going to be slowed by then? I guess, when do you think the slowing of the spread in terms of flattening this curve is going to be? How much longer do you see this actually getting worse until it gets better?
Look, I'm no scientist, but like I do engineering, and I honestly do think this is gonna be like an exponential curve where it's not just gonna like have a moderate slope. I think it's gonna go straight up, like, and keep skyrocketing. So I don't know if there's ever gonna be really a time soon where it just dies down, unless because even the lockdown thing isn't working, unless people really start enforcing. And it turns into like some post-apocalypse thing, which I know like it sounds crazy right now. But if it turns into like a lot of restrictions and they're like, all right, you can't go, all right, only 20 people in the store, all right, only this, or our stores are only open from 4 to 6, which is kind of how it is now. Like some stores are only open for a certain amount of time, or giving elderly people in the morning. I don't think it's gonna gradually curve or like go lower like what you're expecting until things start getting worse with regulations. Because I think opening things up soon is just going to worsen it.
Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and send that question over to you, Michael, as well. When do you expect to see the curve kind of start flattening out and see this thing kind of start moving in a positive direction?
I told you, by summer.
Do you think it'll flatten out by summer? So do you think then that in 2 weeks from now, we'll still be having more than 14 to 15,000 cases a day, or do you think that by then it'll be less than that?
I think it will be much more than that. 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Well, with these new restrictions in, that's the only difference. What's up, Aleeyah? That's the only difference I see.
Gotcha. Well, I guess that, I'll go ahead and welcome in our our third guest of the show now. She has also been on the show multiple times before, and it is our good friend Aleeyah. How are you doing, Aleeyah?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. We're obviously talking about what's been going on with the virus and everything, and you made a point, Michael, about hospitals possibly like getting overloaded and stuff like that. Well, one of our friends actually, he works at a hospital. It's our friend Chris, and he works at Sutter in Roseville. And last night, I was actually texting with him. And he told me these few things that I think were very interesting. He said the last 3 shifts he's been in the isolated respiratory tent. He said that last time that he saw there were 8 cases, but that was only a few days ago. He expects providers expect a surge in COVID cases within this next week. COVID tests that are being done. We're seeing a lot more of these tests that are being done. Only about 75 to 80% of them are accurate. So 1 out of every 4 to 5 people will have a false negative test and spread the disease. And then he also mentioned to me 64% of Wuhan healthcare workers were diagnosed with corona, and we're probably going to start seeing that a little bit more in America since there's a lot more healthcare workers that are having to take care of a lot more sick people, especially in places like New York where they're seeing 45 to 50% of the new cases that are coming in. He also thinks the hot weather is going to fight off the virus. But I asked him if ICU beds, if they're low on ICU beds and ventilators, since that's the big thing that's been being talked about. And he said that not yet, but ask me that in 2 weeks. And that's my worry, is that in a couple weeks from now, if it does continue to get bad, like you were predicting, Michael, if we're not going to see our healthcare system be able to take care of all these new patients that are coming in and basically kind of explode the system. And then that makes obviously tons of other problems with other people who don't have coronavirus and still need to, get checked up, or still need to have surgery, or still need a bed for something, that isn't necessarily that. But he thinks it's going to take anywhere between 2 to 6 months. And he also mentioned, it's going to matter on when we get the vaccine as well. They were talking in the media earlier this week, and a couple of the doctors that are in helping with Trump's administration and his task force right now, that they're worried that they're going to be seeing seasons of this occur. That's obviously, once again, because we don't have a vaccine, such as places like South Africa in the Southern Hemisphere, since they are actually entering their winter season and there's no hot weather that is coming there anytime soon. I know that people, if you tune into that and you hear that, you're probably like, well, that's not what I needed to hear. Once again, though, it just comes down to, people need to be very careful. This whole social distancing thing is important, but in reality, stay-at-home orders, as we're seeing spread across the country in other states now, like Louisiana and Michigan, those are very important orders in place to help stop the spread. Anybody want to jump in? Okay, I guess the next thing I wanted to bring up on this is, there's been some people, and I was actually one of these people in the very beginning, when this was all going on, that was thinking, we got through the swine flu, over a decade ago, and there were tons of cases with those. Between January 2009 to August 2010, there were 700 million confirmed cases, and anywhere between 100,000 to 280,000 deaths. So, when you look at that, obviously right now we're just in the beginning stages, but it is kind of scary when you look at how long that took. And I guess I'll go ahead and start with you, Michael, on this. What do you think makes this virus, because obviously with the swine flu there was no stay-at-home orders, or not as much stuff as you're seeing right now with coronavirus. What do you think makes this virus so much more dangerous than something like that happened just a few years ago?
Well, tell me again how many cases there were of the swine flu?
700 million across the world.
And how many deaths?
Anywhere between 100,000 to 284,000.
So, to put very simply,
those are some very low mortality rates.
COVID-19 has a much higher mortality rate.
This is true. And you know, as we're seeing with cases that do get closed, this virus does have roughly about a 15 to 16% mortality rate, while the cases that are still active right now, much of them are in mild condition. The ones that do get closed, you're seeing a fair amount of them that do result in deaths. There's 24,000 deaths so far, while there's only been roughly about 535,000 cases. So you do bring up a good point in terms of the mortality rate there when you look at, you know, the rate versus the swine flu. But you know, I guess it just seems really interesting when you look at that versus the swine flu, as you mentioned with the mortality rate. But Ricky or Aleeyah, I guess I'll get you in on this. I haven't gotten you in on this yet. How has this impacted you, and then how long do you foresee this going until we actually start to get better?
Well, this impacts me mentally very much so. Like at first, I don't know. At first, I didn't think it was a big deal in the very beginning. I thought people were blowing it out of proportion to scare everybody.
You and me both, sister.
Yeah, and so at first I took it seriously, but not too seriously. And then once I really like started researching and reading about it and watching like the talks in the morning and stuff, it started to really freak me out. And so I don't know. It's very difficult for me. But however, I don't know. Ask someone else. I can't.
Well, I know that your job has been impacted by this as well, obviously, because you know you do stuff at the school, and obviously the schools have been closed down for quite a bit. Now, my understanding was that you were also getting paid for up to 2 weeks after it was getting closed down. Am I correct about that?
Yeah, and I just got an email today saying that the schools aren't opening till May now. So.
Oh, they actually plan on
fine.
reopening in May. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, so do you think that means that, let's say, for example, you know, that does end up actually working out and they do reopen in May, do you think that means then that their classes in school will go into the summer, or will they still plan on stopping at roughly the same time they do every school year?
I think they're going to stop it just because they have all the kids doing their classwork at home that they were supposed to learn. Like, they have, like I know you guys use Zoom for school as well, and they actually, my sister right now, they have her using that for her classes and, like, online prompts and stuff. So I think
kids are using Zoom?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I think they're going to have them do that. I don't think they're going to push it into summer, personally.
Do you guys think that the media in any way, shape, or form has basically added to the anxiety for people, or do you think that they're reflecting?
Oh yes, absolutely.
That's it, dude. It's all the media. It's all the.
That's the main thing.
Social media, the news. They will get people to believe what they want them to believe. They will make you panic and show you that people are going to stores going crazy over toilet paper, and then you're kind of forced to think about it. You're like, wait, when was the last time I went? And you go check your rolls. You're like, oh, I've only got like 4 more rolls. Maybe I should go get some soon. And then when you actually need it, you can't get it because it's out because people are exaggerating it.
Bro, I ain't tripping at all. I ain't worried about the media.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I will say though that social media has both impacts, because there are really positive things I see, or there's a couple of what are they called? A couple of accounts that will post like good things that are going on, like resolving around the coronavirus, like positive outcomes and stuff, which is nice. But definitely there's fake headlines. They make things sound way worse than they are, or the way they word it, and it's just crazy. So I try to stay away from it.
And we expect you to be the best journalist.
I disagree. I disagree.
All right, what's up, Michael? What's your thoughts on it?
All right, bro. Let's go. Yeah, go, Michael. I'm listening to you.
From what I've seen, I haven't seen anything crazy.
From what I've seen, I haven't seen anything.
It's just people reporting it.
So yeah, it's just people reporting what's going on. We're about to kind of run out on this part. I want to ask another question, but I think I'm going to save that for part 3. We'll be right back with more here on the Liberty Hour. We got a lot more to talk about on this, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.